Hey, you guys, it's Latrice, and I am back again with another episode here on the Lift Her Up podcast. And thank you for going ahead to subscribe and liking this video and hitting those bell notifications. Thank you so much for all the comments and everything that you're leaving, all the support that I'm getting for the podcast and for the channel. I really appreciate it. So, today we're going to go ahead and get into what we're going to talk about. I did not have a topic for today. I didn't know what I would be talking about on this episode. And as I was typing it out and making a plan, I really didn't feel like I had anything to say. But God told me that was the furthest thing from the truth. And He actually told me to remember some things that had come up in this last week and even this past year. The fact was I didn't feel like getting on camera and I didn't feel like sharing anything because I've kind of been in this place where I've been wrestling a little bit with God and been dealing with some doubt. And I know that a lot of us have been feeling this same sort of tension. And the truth of the matter is I wasn't focusing on what God was doing or what He has done for me in the past, but I'd only been paying attention to the things that I could not see in the moment, and that was causing some strife in my heart and just some things that I've been battling. But He told me to reflect on some encounters that I'd had with Him in the last week and to remember the prayers and the tears that I had sown last year and even the year before that. So I want to talk today about keep believing God. That's the only thing I want to talk about today. If you don't get anything else from this podcast today, keep believing God. That's all I want to stress to us today. So like I was saying, there's many prayers and tears that He had me remember, and many of those prayers I am grateful to be walking in them currently. And many of the tears that I had sown, like, I don't remember a lot of them, or at least like the pain that was connected to them, that was attached to them. And I wanted to talk about this because it's March now. March just started. So we're entering, it's literally the last month for the first quarter of the year. And I think just like I was saying about myself, many of us are like, okay, 2023 hasn't started exactly the way we had envisioned it. There are a lot of uncertain things that are going on in the world, and a lot of things have not yet come to pass, even entering month 3. And so I feel spiritually it's a lot of people that are about to turn in their turn in their cards. It's like, okay, Lord, like if it ain't happened by now, even though it's only March, like maybe it just won't happen. And so I felt like the Lord was leading me to just say to keep believing in Him, even past our disappointments that we've been having. So again, self included, there's lots of things that I've been believing God for, and it's just like, okay, 2023 has been full of just unexpected things so far, and sometimes like not the best unexpected things. So I just want to say to not allow the things that you see or things that you haven't seen yet to discredit what God is doing and what God has done in the past. That's something that He has been highlighting to me because it's like, with believers, it's almost like we're either or. We're never like fully persuaded on either side. And I think He really wants to break that in us. Like the dichotomy is, on one hand, we don't give God enough time to work out all the things that He's trying to work out. And then on the other hand, it's like we miss or we completely forget everything that He's brought us through and everything that He's done for us. So again, keep believing God because He did it before and He'll do it again. So He is in that process of working it out for us, even when we can't see it. we have to remember the things that he's done in the past. That is going to fuel us as we are waiting to see the fulfillment of his promises, So keep believing God. I'm going to continue to say that throughout this entire episode. I don't even think this is going to be as long as some of my other ones. But again, God is working while we're waiting. And even in the midst of our prayers, he's preparing. So while we're praying, he's preparing. And while we're waiting, he's working. So for our prayers, when we go to the Lord in prayer and supplication, he is preparing us, our hearts, our minds, our hands, to hold the things that we are praying for. So he's preparing us while we are praying, and he's also preparing our prayers for us, if that makes sense. So there are some things that we're praying for right now, or that we prayed for a year ago, that we don't have the capacity to hold yet. We don't have the capacity to build it, to sustain it, or anything like that. And it just reminds me that God will lead us into different seasons of like wilderness to cultivate that capacity in us. So it's like when he led the Israelites out of Egypt, right? Like he led them into the wilderness, and they were in that season for a while, much to their own, obviously, like their own disobedience and everything like that. It kept them wandering for a generation, right? But he knew that the mindset that they had, the slavery mindset, it couldn't fathom the promises and the capacity, that the freedom that they were going to have in the promised land. And it's like the same for us. Like while we're believing, we're still going to be tested. But we have to believe that past our testing, that God is going to grant us the things that he has promised us, And personally, I'm just going to share a couple of stories for myself. Like, I had been believing God last year. It's like, okay, Lord, I want you to bless this platform and everything like that. I'm still believing that he's going to continue to grow my platform. But then doubt started to creep in when I wasn't seeing everything that God was saying to me. Like he had given me a vision for how some of this stuff is going to play out. I don't know it in its completion, but it's like he put certain words over my life, just as he does for everyone. So if he told me to go out here and be on film in front of these people, in front of the internet and everything, I have to believe that there's going to be some fruit from it. But I was not seeing the immediate reward from doing this. I was only feeling the feel. So I was only feeling the anxiety every time I had to press play and think of new content. And I was only thinking about the pressure that I felt to release on a certain schedule and to, try to be like perfect, or, just letting go of all those things. So it was like all this pressure that I would feel, but I was still believing that God was going to grow my platform. But unbeknownst to me, a year later, I would have people coming up to me, like in all walks of life, multiple generations of people, all types of people, family, friends, church goers, like whoever, like random people on the internet, like would be approaching me in person and virtually saying how my words have helped them, how these videos, my channel, the platform, the podcast have helped them, has encouraged them. And even so much so that people are seeking me out and asking me for advice on this thing that I do here. Meanwhile, last year, I was believing for God to grow the platform and I wasn't seeing it, but I didn't know that the Lord was preparing me then for what I'm experiencing now. And I know that he's going to continue to do that. So we have to continue to believe God, to trust God, keep believing him because he is faithful to his word. And another thing, personally, I've been believing God for was godly community and friendship. So obviously, like, I have my church family, but I didn't know up until like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, the value of friendship that I had, until I had a situation where I had a friend, like, it felt like a betrayal for me. And I dealt with this whole bout of like loneliness, like all last year pretty much. And it was this feeling I had never experienced before. It was like this void and this inner loneliness. I didn't even know that I needed this sort of platonic relationship to help me in life. Like, I didn't know I needed that until I lost a very good friend of mine. And so going through that, I was like, Lord, begging and pleading, like, take this loneliness away, begging him for godly friendships, and I felt like he wasn't answering me at the time, but I was believing him to do it. But there are some things in me that he had to work out. It's like, okay, Latrice, like, if I give you these friends, are you going to be like consistent with them? Are you going to be vulnerable with them? Are you going to be open with them? There are some things he had to iron out in me, and being betrayed made me even like doubt my own self-worth as a person, as a friend. And so God had to teach me. I had to learn that, like, okay, like, I am a good friend, like, I do have value to bring to a friendship, just like any other relationship. I had to relearn the value of myself, of my friendship, of being in proximity with me. So before he could even bless me to open up to people, to have people enter my life, like, I had to be worked on. So while we're believing God, we have to also realize, again, like, he's working on us. He's having to shed some mindsets and some characteristics that might not be befitting for us to again hold the blessings, to hold the prayers that we've been sending up to him. And now, like, I'm looking back at the last 4 to 5 months or so, and God has opened up new relationships for me. And I've been able to forge new friendships and deepen ones that I didn't even consider, because I was just so blinded by the fact that, I don't have any friends, or like, I think I don't have any friends, at least none, like, in close proximity to me. So it took like months of last year, me having to deal with that and having to realize, like, oh, like, I can have this and I do deserve this. So part of the believing God is also believing that he'll do it for us, through us, and with us, So again, like, keep believing God. He sees all of our needs. He definitely saw mine. He saw my distress. He sees them. And he's met the need every single time. And I'm wrapping up here, but even the needs that I didn't know I had, and he can do that same thing for you, but it has to be in his timing. It's not in our timing. That's why we have to keep believing him, keep trusting him, so that we can know, that we can believe in our heart, in our soul, in our spirit, that it can register that God is for us, and that whatever we're believing him for, it will come to pass. It will come to pass. If he's spoken it, then it's true. And I want to encourage you. And I want to say that whatever you're believing God for, if it's for the marriage, the friendships, the business, whatever it is, it's closer than you think. The miracle you've been searching for, you've been praying for, it's closer than you think. The breakthrough you've been waiting for, it's so much closer than you think. And we have to hold on to that. We have to hold on to what is true. We have to hold on to God's word. It will not return to him void. So please, whatever the last thing is that God fulfilled for you, keep remembering that, okay? Keep remembering it. It's going to fuel you as you keep going in this journey, all right? Keep remembering and keep trusting him. Keep believing God, okay? That is everything that I wanted to say to you guys today. It's a bit shorter than my other videos, but I pray that it's encouraged you. All right. Keep trusting God. Keep believing God. All right. And until next time, y'all remember to stay encouraged.